What's going on, everyone? I hope you guys are ready for some craziness in the markets because we have a lot of things heating up right now. In today's episode, we have some awesome plays in the market for tomorrow, but we also have some very important things to talk about and some news that you literally won't believe. I'm just going to have to say that. So you guys better stick around with us all the way to the end. We have a lot of great things to talk about. But with that being said, Tom, let's jump right into today's episode.
Yeah, Mike, that market today actually had a nice pop up once again, but it was all in pre-market trading. Nobody got to really catch that uptrend there. We hit that 442 resistance, and I've talked about that level as being pretty big there. So seeing the SPY reject is pretty awesome. Now, I am watching 444 above there if we do happen to break 442 tomorrow maybe, but I actually drew a trend line today, kind of going off the low of yesterday, and today we actually bounced right off that trend line, and towards the end of the day, tried to test it again. So I'll be watching this area along with like 437.50 as a pretty big spot for tomorrow. That market was pretty choppy today with that pre-market move, but most of the price action was to the downside, actually. We saw Apple and a few other stocks just be really, really choppy, but then others like Tesla actually kind of fell off in a big way. So very mixed day in the markets.
No doubt about that. And while the market had a very choppy and somewhat boring day today, one stock had an amazing day, and that is ticker symbol VFS. This stock is up nearly 110% today. And I'll tell you this, there is a new sheriff in town. If you were to think of like a big auto manufacturing company, a big car company, you might think of Tesla or Toyota or Mercedes or Ford or something like that. But this stock, VFS, is taking some names, to say the least. So right now, VFS is the world's third largest car company after they just came onto the market. The stock is up 110%. And if you've never heard of this company, VinFast, before, I wouldn't blame you because they are a Vietnamese electric vehicle company that has sold 1,000 electric cars this year. And keep in mind, with that, they're now the world's third largest car company. And out of the 1,000 cars it sold, it recalled all of them. So it's not a great look for the world's third largest car company. But yeah, it's, at least market cap wise, competing right there with Tesla and Toyota. And, looking at some of these cars, they don't look too bad, but I'll tell you this, if I was driving one of them, I'd be pretty nervous on that reliability.
Yeah, I would too. Every single one has been recalled. Now, obviously, it's a new company, but Mike, that is pretty crazy to hear that one person owns like 99% of the company. It's pretty rare nowadays that actually happens, especially just given how much deals people do and etc. to grow these companies. It is a little bit shocking on that front. And looking at these cars, like you said, they look pretty good. I'll say I like them better than a lot of the EVs I see here in the States, but that is crazy. They only have 1,000 cars and the stock is the third largest auto manufacturer. I know that we saw this happen with like Lucid or Rivian a while ago, but man, it's crazy whenever this happens to car companies that don't even have any vehicles really on the road. And in the U.S., I would speculate they might even have none on the road.
Yeah, right? So, that's another thing that you brought up that I totally forgot about. But basically, one guy, the founder, owns like 99% of this company, which is, pretty crazy. And I'll put it in a nice way, Tom. It's rare to see, right? But that's part of what makes this stock so crazy. So obviously, guys, the stock is booming right now, but I would definitely not hold this for the long term, at least with the current situation. But the reason that we're even talking about it right now is because it has a ton of volume flowing into it. And for some reason, a bunch of people are actually trading this stock and riding that momentum short term. It's awesome to see it have these, days where it literally doubles. But, it can be decent for short-term trading, but just be super careful holding this one like over extended periods of time. But, it's definitely a crazy one.
Yeah, and what I actually like about this is whenever we saw that momentum in the morning, it was like perfect staircasing to the upside. We don't see that all the time in the stock market. So I was happy to see that type of movement. And if we see that happen tomorrow morning, maybe that would be a good way to go. But try to identify that upwards momentum, because if this stock starts crashing, it'll probably crash pretty hard. I don't know about you, Mike, but this one seems a little bit like a pump and dump going on. It kind of reminds me of those shipping stocks from like 8 years ago.
Oh, God, those were crazy. But yeah, I mean, looking at this stock, it's like as long as the volume keeps going in and as long as it keeps making like new highs, you know, it just has that like momentum slash hype factor. But, you know, when the music stops, it's going to hurt. So either way, keep a close eye on this one if you're into those exciting, risky plays, because it definitely has a lot of momentum. But Tom, besides this crazy stock, we do have a lot set to go on in the market for this week. And tomorrow's Wednesday, and that is the day that NVIDIA, the powerhouse, reports earnings. So tell us more, and what do we have to look forward to?
Yeah, NVIDIA, Mike, I'll say today, it was a bad rejection to the downside. I mean, we had a big drop all the way down to like 452, almost hit 450 even. So if we do see more drops out of NVIDIA tomorrow into earnings, that is going to be scary. But these earnings coming up are going to be big. Obviously, NVIDIA is huge, but even Snowflake tomorrow and after hours will be a good stock to watch. I know a lot of people trade that one as well. Even like SPLK, a lot of people like Splunk too. So keep your eyes on these stocks. I really do like NVIDIA though. Obviously, I'm not going to play the earnings, though. They are very, very risky. I will actually look to jump into this one after the earnings come out and maybe try to trade an earnings continuation, hopefully, in my opinion, to the downside, because I think that would be a better way to go as far as like some good momentum. But hey, if they do break that all-time high, it might not be bad to trade it above like 482 either. But who knows, Mike? This thing could have a crazy move. We have all these price targets up above $500. We even talked about some price targets hitting above like $600 the other day. So I could see this stock going a lot higher if the report's well, but I don't know. It has to be pretty surprising, I think, for us to get this one to break that high.
You have to be one brave soul to trade this stock ahead of earnings. Like, seriously, I'm not even kidding. And Tom, I'll say this. I am literally going to pray for everyone who's playing earnings on this one. Like tonight, I'm going to pray for people who decide to trade this earnings report for multiple reasons, let alone the valuation of the stock, but just the options pricing on this one is absolutely insane. The stock's at like $470 a share, and I was seeing on NVIDIA some of these options for the weekly chain go so far out of the money, like the 920 strike price. Like, who on earth is buying that? Like, seriously. And it's like, whoever is, like, can I sell you some? Can I sell you some of those out of the money calls? But like, seriously, it really is going to be a crazy report, and a lot of people are looking at this right now. Of course, for NVIDIA, but also the overall market, because, NVIDIA is such a powerhouse company, and, they do great things as a company. It's just the stock's kind of overvalued. And the thing is if NVIDIA has like a great day to the upside or a great move to the upside, it can really like lift the overall market higher. But at the same time, if it craters, it can bring a lot of what we'll call violent selling pressure across the entire market. So it's like, that's why like all eyes are on this report, because it's like, if it's good, everyone's going to be like, yay. But if it's bad, it's going to be like, run. Seriously.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm looking at NVIDIA right now on that daily chart, and I zoom in a lot here, and we're actually having a bit of a double top happen right around this 480 resistance, and that's never a good thing to see with earnings. Obviously, the earnings could push us up through there, but it's never good when you see a double top there going on. If there's just a bad report, I feel like people might try to trade a lot of puts on this one, try to trade it down, obviously. So be ready for that if the report is not good. But like I said, even Snowflake reports tomorrow and after hours as well. That's also going to be a big one. But of course, everyone likes NVIDIA, and let us know in the comments what you're going to do with it. Are you going to trade it? Are you just going to stay on standstill? And also let us know which way you think it's going to go on earnings. Some people really do think this thing could get like the $700 plus. To me, that's insane, Mike, but I like you said, some of those options at like 900, I wish I could sell some of those.
No doubt about that. But shifting over into some market general news, we also had some more what we'll call bad news drop today with some U.S. banks. So basically, we had S&P downgrade some more U.S. banks today, and obviously it's not a great thing, but what's worth noting is that while a lot of bank stocks fell, like JP Morgan and Bank of America, they didn't actually get downgraded. It was, other banks like UMB Financial and Key Corp and stuff like that. So, either way, it's not good news. And, the banking industry just took another blow this year.
Yeah, it did. Another one, and it would be terrible if those bigger banks started to get downgraded as well. I know Fitch kind of hinted at that earlier in the year, so if they do that, that's going to be pretty scary. We even talked about Key Corp last night with NVIDIA's price targets. They had one of those crazy targets, Mike. Maybe that's why their rating got cut,
Oh
Imagine
my God.
that. They're looking at this like, are you idiots here? You think it's going to go to $700? We're cutting you.
Oh my God, that's awesome. So yeah, keep that in mind going forward. But some even more news, just the cherry on top with, market news lately. We actually have some data showing that hedge funds are shorting U.S. ETFs at I don't want to say a record pace, but at the fastest pace since September of 2022. And obviously it's, not a great sign. And for a lot of this year, we've actually seen a good amount of short covering, which, makes stocks rise to the upside. But now we're starting to see like the opposite. Lately we've seen a good amount of short selling come into the markets. And, of course, that puts direct selling pressure into all stocks in the market overall.
Yeah, it does. And to see it going up that high right now is a little bit worrying, but it does make a lot of sense, Mike. Whenever you look at the market and you see how overextended stocks are, you see how we've started to finally go on a little bit of a downtrend here. It's definitely something that I'm watching for as a bigger move to the downside. And I'm not surprised that a lot of the institutions and other people like that are as well. And whenever we talk about short flows, keep in mind that doesn't necessarily mean that like the market's going to sell off, but it's definitely pretty big whenever you see short selling moving like this. And just considering everything going on with the economy right now, with inflation starting to uptick again, it's just a scary thought.
No doubt about that. Well, that is the main news for today. So let's get right into the fun stuff. With the first thing is a setup I'm watching for tomorrow, and it's actually JP Morgan, a big bank, and it's to the downside. So, of course, we had some bad banking news today, but also a lot of bad banking news over the past couple weeks. Long story short, I'm watching JPM to the downside for tomorrow. The banking industry overall has been relatively weak. Bears are definitely in control of this one right now, and I think it's somewhat realistic to see like a test in the short term of around like 144. And as the momentum flows, maybe that can maybe the stock can go down to like 135. But we'll have to assess it on a week by week basis.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that JP Morgan's a little bit overextended in the short term. If we zoom out a little bit, going back to like April and the beginning of the year, the stock is actually still up a considerable amount. So I could see some solid pullbacks coming in like that, especially with all the crazy banking news that we've been seeing lately. Even more bad news today again. And, talking about bad news and just companies that just continue to have it. I know Boeing has had some bad news with their jets lately, but their stock's been all over the place. And I've been trading them a lot the past few weeks. Looking at them today, they ran right up into resistance around $230. And we've talked about this level so much over the past couple weeks. So 230 is huge on the book map. You can see once again, sellers came in there. We did break the level a little bit today, and I'll be watching this closely tomorrow for either a run up above 230, but even more importantly, I think I'm watching a rejection. If we end up rejecting, I'll really be eyeing up some puts to the downside, especially if the market is also coming down. So keep your eyes on Boeing. It's good to see these levels. And Mike, we've been talking about this one on Bookmap for a few weeks now. So we know that 230 is big. We've seen these sellers stacked here for a long time.
Absolutely. If you guys want this X-ray style bookmap vision, definitely check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. It's what allows you to see these hidden buyers and sellers, and it definitely is a nice thing to have on your side while you're trading, because it really is a game changer. Being able to see these very clear support and resistance levels instantaneously is awesome to have on your side. On top of that, if you decide to try it out, if you use the link down below, you will save because we do have some special offers attached with Bookmap. So definitely check it out. It's that first link in the description and the comments down below. But it's now time for the next setup, Tom, and that is with Old Faithful GLD. So GLD follows gold prices. It has been struggling a decent amount over the past couple weeks, but it had a nice bounce up today. Looking at GLD, I think it's making for like a really nice like risk reward setup right now. We've seen a lot of big money flows into gold in a bullish way lately as well. So I just think like the risk reward's pretty awesome. You know, maybe your stop is around, we'll call it like 174.75, and then your profit target could be all the way up to 182 or even like 186 or higher.
Yeah, I could see that too. I mean, that's a big move there out of gold, obviously, but in the short term, GLD's been actually falling down quite a bit, like whenever we zoom out here on the chart. So I think that's a pretty smart trade there. And even like as a safer level, 180 is going to be probably pretty big coming up soon as well. So I like GLD, Mike. And talking about commodities, my next play also follows commodities in a way, which is X or US Steel. This stock has been on a tear lately. So they had some news with CLF or Cleveland Cliffs where they wanted to buy them. They actually rejected the offer and the stock exploded. And I noticed there's like a bit of a triple top right around $32.50. If we see this stock break to the upside, I will definitely be watching it. It's been consolidating up here a lot, and it's in one of those bullish type of patterns where it's holding higher and it's not really rejecting. So I'll just keep waiting for that breakout to come through.
All right, sounds good. So, Tom, what you're telling me is even though it's like a steel company, it's not too boring because it's actually moving in a good way.
Exactly, right? Like steel is X has actually always been a really fun stock to trade. Like if we go back in time, even over the past few years, this stock has crazy swings. Like look at that 73% swing there. And then even if you were trading puts, like it swung 34% to the downside, and now it's actually all the way back up 57% again. I don't know what's been up with steel lately, Mike, but this thing has been wild.
Yeah, so I'll give it to you. It does have some nice swings. Just too bad it doesn't get the same level of love and attention as stocks like AMD or, Apple or Amazon or stuff like that. I know, it's not apples to apples, but either way, I like the setup and I'll keep a close eye on it with you. But it is now time for those momentum plays. And with the first one, we have AMD to the downside.
AMD, pretty rough here. If they actually break under 105 tomorrow, go ahead and look at those puts to the downside. Maybe give or take around 20 cents there, but 105 is a pretty decent support.
All right, with the next one, we have Zoom, but it's to the upside. And Tom, this one, it had earnings yesterday. It was looking good at first, and then pre-market came around, and I don't know if the Grim Reaper just appeared out of nowhere or what, but this stock started tanking, but it's actually having a nice recovery. It had a nice recovery intraday. So what are the upside levels?
Yeah, it had a big support bounce at like 63.50. We might need to pray to the stock gods for this one. If it breaks that support, it's going to be rough. But at the same time, if for like risk reward ratio, this is awesome. You guys could put a stop here, like maybe around 63 or just under that, and you could try to trade this up. If it has a breakout above $67 tomorrow, look at it to the upside. Man, if this one starts to recover, I think there could be a pretty big move.
All right, and then with the last one, we have Tesla for both directions.
Yeah, good old Tessie, right? This one's pretty wild too. They had a big intraday support right around 230. If they break under 229.50, look at puts to the downside. If they break above intraday resistance right around 234.15, then go ahead and look at calls. I'm actually looking at it more to the downside though.
All right, good stuff. So we have that downside level for Tesla. If it breaks below that, we're watching it for puts. We have the upside level for calls. And then don't forget about Zoom with their upside level for calls as well. And then AMD with their downside level for puts. But it is now time for today's big money $2.25 million trade of the day. And we are looking at the banking powerhouse that basically acquired TD Ameritrade and is now the new owner of Thinkorswim, which is Charles Schwab. So SCHW. Someone put $2.25 million into the SCHW 55 strike put options. that expire on October 20th of 2023. If you don't understand how options work, this is basically a bet that this stock will fall. The lower it goes, the more millions that this trader will make. These options are pretty close to the money. They have some time. The banking industry overall has been pretty weak. The chart on Schwab looks pretty weak. It's making lower highs as well. So with all that being said, I do like the setup.
Yeah, I do too. And today was rough for them, down 4.95%. That was actually one of the worst bank moves that we saw out there. Like if we go to like JP Morgan and a few of those other ones, obviously they're huge, right? So they're not going to be down like 4% or anything like that, but they're down like 2%. So SCHW, pretty big though to see that big move there. Bad red candle. They are getting close to like a support. I see around $55 though. So keep that on watch over the next week or so. It does look like a good play to the downside. And I think following this big money play could be great, especially in the short term here. Like we've been seeing a lot of negative bank news, and for the next few days, if you guys continue to see this momentum like we saw today, it's going to be a great opportunity.
No doubt about that. So keep a close eye on this one over the next couple days and weeks. But Tom, tomorrow is kind of the big day with NVIDIA earnings. We have the market in a tough position. Bulls are not fully in control, but bears are not either. So it's just like waiting on NVIDIA earnings. It should make for some pretty exciting opportunities, not only for tomorrow and the rest of the week, but even on Friday as we have that Jackson Hole event too. So I'm pretty excited. It should be an action-packed week. Do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's going to be huge. Watch NVIDIA. Jackson Hole is going to be big too. I think with NVIDIA for tomorrow, it's going to be very important that we hold $450. If we get under that, it could be a little bit rough. On the SPY, keep an eye on the trend line here. We've been kind of riding it perfectly here the past couple days. If we start running down under this, it could get bloody again. We talked about this on Sunday night and yesterday, that this could be a bit of a dead cat bounce. And if it is, and we start to see more selling pressure come in, it's going to get pretty rough out there with all these earnings going on.
Alrighty, well, if you guys liked the video, make sure to obliterate that subscribe button. We spend hours every single day finding the most important news and things to know in the stock market. On top of that, we have predictions and plays in every single video. And most channels don't do this, but we also cover a big money pre-analyzed trade in every single video as well. So if you're into following, multi-billion-dollar hedge funds and institutions and the smart money, we got you covered. We talk about these big money plays all the time. So definitely subscribe. When you subscribe, you'll see our videos recommended to you more often. We should have a pretty awesome week. And besides that, guys, we have one last thing to cover, and that is our member of the day, McAvister in the StockedUp Discord. You've been in the chat for almost a year now, and you've been a pretty great member so far. So definitely make sure to keep it up, and huge shout out to you. And besides that, guys, let's have an amazing week.